cut so that we have something to measure by. Oh, that's good. Here we go. Here's the test. Cuts. I mean, I was able to just lay on it. I mean, I really was able to pull on it. That stuff like that just probably doesn't come across on camera. It's just pulling through it effortlessly. Really. I mean, I don't know what the speed's like. It's still got that limited coil on it. But as far as actual power, damn, this thing's got power. You know, it absolutely feels as powerful or more powerful than my 592. So there you have it. But let's go into the garage and I'll talk a little bit more about this saw specifically and why it's so unique. I've never seen anything like it. Okay, so this probably is not going to be a very good video because, well, I'm not going to take it all apart further. I've already had this thing apart and I don't want to take it apart again. So the deal is this saw is both the highest quality saw I have ever seen, and it's also really stupid. What I mean by that is, first off, let's check out this heavy duty air filter setup. So it's a nice air filter setup. We got a pre-filter on there before the actual filter. It's sealed up nicely with rubber, really nice soft rubber as well. So we're really good on that front. But leave it up to the Germans to overcomplicate something that should be simple. This right here should just screw on. It doesn't. It's got this setup where you pinch this together and it comes off, and it's pretty simple to use, absolutely, especially once you get the hang of it. But it's overly complicated for no reason. Just screw it on. It's silly. Another thing is, with the overcomplication, this right here has to come off before you can get to the carburetor in any fashion. So like where normally a lot of times people will be able to remove the top cover so that they can look whenever they're putting their screwdriver in order to make sure that their screwdriver is getting onto the screw like it needs to be. Well, you can't do that with this. You've got to break out a real tool. This is a hex or Torx bits, Torx screws right here. And you've got to take this off. And this is actually seated onto the intake. So then you can't just pop it back on. I mean, it's not complicated from a mechanicking aspect or standpoint, but it is overly complicated for in the field type of stuff. And it's ridiculous. So On one hand, it's excellent. And on the other hand, it's stupid as hell. All right. So another thing that you got to do in order to take this top cover off, right? Normally top covers just come off. It's not a big deal. Yeah, you might have screws in this one or that one. This one has clips, this one has screws, blah, blah, blah. But mostly the top covers just come off. Well, not on this one. On this one, in order to remove the top cover, you have to not just take the brake off of this side. You might be able to get it off. Yeah, you might be able to get it off if you just take the brake off on this side. But something in me tells me you gotta, you can probably pop the top cover off with just removing this brake screw right here. But why? It's totally unnecessary. You should be able to leave that in play, you know, and just remove this top cover. But that does bring me to another point to where if you're going to work on this saw in any kind of fashion, right, and you want to remove this brake completely, well, you have to disassemble the actual brake on this side to where the spring is exposed. And in order to get this off, you have to be pulled back, which means that that spring is holding tension really tight and it can pop off in your face just to remove the brake. Where, you know, it's just totally backwards. If you're removing the brake, it should be more simple than that. I don't know how else to put it. But as far as the saw itself, but I mean, that's German engineering for you. This is, I have probably 3 reasons or 4 reasons why I don't really care for Stihl chainsaws. And none of them have to do with the quality. They're fantastic saws, just like Husqvarna, just like Jonsered, just like Makita/Dolmar. They're great saws. There's nothing against them in that manner. It's just personal preference. Number 1 is that kill switch is stupid, but they seem to be doing better at making a more functional choke/kill switch. So I like that. Number 2 is they're just expensive as shit. They're just so expensive, and that's all because they can. It's just like Jeep right now. I mean, the American Jeep is like super duper expensive. And you go, why? It's a Jeep. Because you people will continue to pay it. That's why it's so expensive. So, you know, I mean, you haven't been able to buy a brand new Jeep for less than 30 grand for decades now. So they're expensive. Number 3 reason is they're hard to work on. They're overly complicated. And I find there's no difference with this right here. It is really well built, and that is obvious. But it's hard to work on. It's not the worst thing in the world, for sure. It's not. But there's little things here and there that you stumble on. You're like, well, shit. I can't take this apart because I have to take that off. You know, and that kind of stuff happens. But once you learn the little nitpicky tricks on it, then it's fine and dandy. But you just got to hang in there and learn those little tricks. The other thing that is crazy about it is it definitely picked up a lot of power with the port job. However, did it pick up as much power percentage-wise as, say, a 372 or a Stihl 440 or all kinds of stuff, you know, an Echo 7310? Oh, no. No, it did not pick up that much power. And you got to ask yourself, why? Well, because it was already built so well from the factory. And that makes it difficult to get a 30 or 40% increase in power. So I had talked with Randy, and Randy wanted me to do everything to this thing, which typically case trenching, right? The squish band, cut the squish band, of course, the port and polishing, muffler mod. He wanted me to do as much as I could to it, right? And well, I did. But you know what it is? It's just a basic port job. The case trenching on this thing, I don't think I have anything to show you because I was just in a rush to get both this and the 7310 out, and I didn't film it like I normally do. But the case trenching was just honestly pointless. I mean, I could have probably taken it completely apart and held the case halves in my hand and made a difference. But the ports were matched. I mean, normally you take that gasket, you take the cylinder gasket and put it on the cylinder and put it on the cases, and you use a magic marker and you mark out the spaces where you have free to cut and increase flow or at least enhance it. And on this, it was perfectly matched up to the gasket. So I'm like, well, what good? I mean, it's already trenched. The cases have already been port matched to the gasket, and the gasket is port matched to the cylinder. So on the bottom, I mean, there was not even any work that really needed to be done. I mean, I did a little bit to the lower transfers, but this shit's good from the factory, which is why it's so strong from the factory. So the squish as well, it has a little itty bitty combustion chamber. Thing's already got tons of compression to the point to where it's kind of difficult to start. And I was just like, you know what? Oh, another thing, the squish was at 25 thousandths with the gasket. So I'm like, well, shit. I didn't have to cut the base. I didn't have to trench the cases. Got a great squish, tons of compression, all of this stuff directly from the factory. The port numbers were good too. Many people would port for those numbers. But of course I turned it up a little bit. Where did I actually go with it? Come on, there we go. So the intake was at 77. Most people, I mean, a lot of times people stop at 77, 78 for a good work saw. You know, 80 is like the tops. You don't want to go no further kind of thing. Exhaust opens at 105. That's excellent. I mean, it's really good. Blow down was at 27 degrees. Again, that's excellent. You know, I mean, it's from the fact, there is a reason that from the factory, these things run like a prize mule. I mean, you know, they pull, they work, you know, they're good. So whenever I ported it, I went ahead and I did 82.8, 83 degrees on the intake. On the exhaust, I dropped it down to just under 99 degrees. And the transfers, I gave it 23 degrees of blowdown. It's clearly running well, it has more power, but percentage-wise, compared to the Echo 7310, see, the 7310 from the factory has its ports deliberately aimed at losing power. This has to be something to do with EPA. The percentage gained by the port work that you just did is 45%. That's a big jump. And so everybody, you know, you're like, I'm a great porter, I'm a great builder, I'm so good at this, right? But in reality, is the Echo 7310 is extremely easy to get big gains like that because of the way it was from the factory. This saw right here is already turned up from the factory. It is built very well. And in order to get bigger gains out of it, you got to look at other things. And honestly, I'm not good enough for that yet. Not on somebody else's saw. There is some people that put a 272 coil on this, a Husqvarna 272 coil. And honestly, I don't know if that gives you more power or if it just allows you to tune it the way that a lot of people like to tune it, which is just by ear, or with a tack, you know. But yeah, I'm not sure if it gives you more power or not. I don't know. Please, if you guys know, if you've done this, not if you've read something. Come on, guys. If you've read something or you heard somebody else go, oh yeah, it really woke it up. Yeah, a lot. You know how I am. I measure shit. I put it side by side. I want to see the results, right? But if it really truly does make more power, then I'm certain that Randy will be interested in doing that. But as it is, I don't know if it makes more power or if it just makes it easier to tune. But tuning in the wood is fine with me. That's the safest way to tune, I think. It is. Not I think. It is. That's the safest way to tune. So I don't mind doing it. But, yeah, just some thoughts on this Dolmar. I don't know how much better it's going to be. If it's going to be better, it feels, man, gosh, it feels powerful. But to be fair, it felt very powerful to begin with. So it could be anybody's guess. I guess, you know, we'll see. I'm about to go make the video for it. And we'll see if it cut through that faster. But I definitely feel like it's got more power. This now will be able to full, healthy pull a 36-inch bar. I mean, healthy pull a 36-inch bar. This thing runs good. So, but anyways, that's enough. I don't know about the speed, though. I don't know. I don't know if it's faster or not. She runs good, though. All right, that's enough.